I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruka, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And I'm going to go in on 1 Samuel 5. But this basically to give you a little background with this chapter. This is right after the Philistines steal or capture the Ark of the Covenant, all right? And that was a sacred, a sacred part of our camp, of our history. And this just shows you that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because even though it's the Ark of the Covenant, it was a sacred, thing in part of Israel in our history. And it shows you how powerful, like the power, because these Philistines, they stole the Ark, right? They captured it. And all it did was bring them plagues, So it's going to be the same this time around, the heathen, they're going to be plagued, namely Esau, Edom, because of their wickedness. They have the Israelites here in captivity, here in Babylon, America. They they offer all the idolatry. They serve all the idolatry up that the Israelites will take. Our people they go off, right? They're following false gods, false philosophies. Namely the 2/3. They're just far gone. And but I don't know. I want to read this chapter, and then we'll just bring precepts out as they come. But this is 1 Samuel 5:1. It says, "And the Philistines took the ark of the Most High, and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of the Most High, they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon." Okay, and this is Dagon is he's a false idol, right? He's an idol of the heathen, a god of the heathen. And you got our people, they worship the gods of the heathen rather than the gods of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. These are our true powers. Our true God is Yahweh, his son Yahushai, who is also to be worshipped by our people, right? But our people, they go off, they go in the ways of the heathen. Matter of fact, let me grab that verse that says, it's in Psalms, the gods of the heathen are idols. Let me see. I'll go to Psalm 96:5. It says, "For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens." Okay? So all these gods are idols, man, these false gods. So even the cracker Jesus that our people worship here in Babylon, America, that is an idol. It's idolatry. Okay? And you can do a quick experiment, if you want. You can Google Jesus Christ, right? Cracker Jesus. You can Google him. And then you can Google Yahweh Shai, right? Google both of them. And then look at the images that pops up. And then go take yourself to Revelation 1:14. Start there. And read that. Read Revelation 1:14 and see if Revelation 1:14 adds up. What image does it describe when you pull up those images on Google? Again, Yahweh Shai and Cracker Jesus or Jesus Christ. You Google that, and it's not going to add up when you read the parabolic description in Revelation 1 and 14. But yet, our people, it's still a heavy demon on our people. They're still worshiping the gods of the heathen, right? Which we just read right here. The gods of the nations are idols. Okay. So anyway, let's keep reading. It says, let's see. Verse 5, I'll read it again. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. Okay? And we go back to 1 Samuel 5 and 2. And Dagon is no different. This is a Philistine god, which if our people, did research on Dagon, I wouldn't be surprised if the 2/3 they'll start worshiping Dagon and put him ahead of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, okay? Because that's how wicked our people are. Our people worship gods that their fathers never knew. That's part of the curses, right? Let's grab that real quick. Deuteronomy 28. It's towards the end. Let's see. Let me see. It's been a minute. I need to go and read Deuteronomy 28. Okay, here it is. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of earth even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And what our people don't realize is you can add Jesus Christ to that mix right here in verse 64. He is a idol, or gods. As you can see, it's gods with a small g, because those are the heathen gods. They don't deserve a capital G because they're not real gods. So the thing is like I said, Jesus Christ, he falls into this category here. Gods that our fathers never knew, all right? We always tell you, first of all, the letter J, it didn't even come about until the 1500s, okay? So how could his name have been Jesus? And not only that, he definitely wasn't a cracker. He wasn't a so-called white man, with pale skin, leprosy according to the Bible, But yeah, our people are still heavy into this idolatry. Okay? So, go back to 1 Samuel 5 and 3. And Dagon, you can look him up. He's a Philistine god. He's basically a fish god, right? Matter of fact, the Pope, the hat that he wears, it goes back to Dagon. Okay, so you can look that up. And the only reason why I don't do it on my phone right now is because my video recorder, it has kind of handicapped. Okay, if I pull up images and go to Google, the audio cuts out for some reason. So otherwise, I'd pull it up for you. But just to let you listeners, especially if you're new, that Dagon is. You pull up his images, and you're gonna see the same goofy hat on Dagon that you see that the Pope wears. Let me see. But he's actually a fish god, right? You pull him up, you're gonna see that goofy ass hat that Dagon wore. That's the same hat as it goes back to what the Pope wears. Anyway, let's keep reading. It says, And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of Yahweh, and they took Dagon and set him in his place again. Okay? So it was like a statue, right? This Dagon character. So they set the ark next to the statue of Dagon, and it was immediately that Dagon statue fell, right? Fell on his face, it says, right? So let me grab these, and Dagon, actually, let me go back to read that to make the point here. 1 Samuel 5. Yeah, verse 3. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of Yahweh, and they took Dagon and set him in his place again. So they had to pick the statue up. They had to pick him up and put him back in his place, right? Because why? Because he's just a statue. He's a false idol. He's less than a man. Okay? These false gods are actually less than men. Okay, and actually I'm going to bring that out in Wisdom of Solomon, the 14th chapter. It says a man is better off than these false gods, because at least a man, even if he's wicked, at least he had a time to live, where these false gods, false idols, they had never lived, right? So let's go to Psalm 115 and 5. It says, and this is, okay, right here, we'll see. Oh, that's the spirit. I didn't even know this was going into it, but it's exactly going into the same chapter we're reading. This is a perfect precept. I'll start at 1. Because it says, and the Philistines took the ark of the Most High. And see, that's how the spirit works. I had no idea this precept that I wrote down literally lines up with the chapter I'm reading in 1 Samuel, the 5th chapter, right? It says, and the Philistines took the ark of the Most High and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their power? But our power is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. They have eyes, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. You see, I will say, they that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. Okay? And really, it's all vanity. You trust in a false idol, and you're basically through. Just like we always tell you, these pagan Christians, these 2/3, these heathen, these people that are calling on Jesus Christ, they're through. Because again, that's an idol. Jesus Christ is idolatry, okay? I mean, I'm not going to get too deep on JC, but sure, I might even name this name this video. That'll be the name of the title of the video. JC is idolatry, is an idol, right? So, then they have the one who creates these idols. It's called an artificer, which that word artificer or artificer, however you want to say it goes into artificial, right? Because these gods are artificial, right? Matter of fact, let me grab that word artificial. Let's see. I'm gonna Google it on my computer right here. Let's see. Okay, bear with me. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to read the definition for artificial. Definition, it says, made, produced, or done by humans, especially to seem like something natural. You see that? So that's what artificial means. It's supposed to look and feel and appear natural, but we know that it's not natural. It's made by humans. Made, okay, what is the simple definition of artificial? It says made by human skill, produced by humans, opposed to natural, right? Artificial flowers, it means words that, like, you can give your woman, if you have a woman, you go on a date with a woman or whatever, you bring her some flowers, right? And or you can bring her some artificial flowers. She's going to be happier if you bring her natural, real flowers, you see. And that's a good example, because artificial flowers, they're just gonna smell like plastic or whatever, when the natural ones that Yahweh created, they're gonna have those sweet scents, those savory smells, right? So that's just like these gods, these false gods, these false idols. They're those artificial flowers, meaning they're made by humans, they're produced. Okay, they're not natural. Okay, and as an Israelite, it's not natural for you to worship any power or any god outside of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, a similar word is an imitation or simulated, sham, or a scam. You see what I'm saying? That's what artificial is. So it means not natural. So for all you 2/3 out there, the gods or the entities or whatever it is, the things that you idolize, it's not natural. Okay, our natural power is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Okay, so let me grab another one in Psalm 135 and 15. It says, "The idols of the heathen are silver and gold, the work of men's hands." Oh, I just read this. Did I just read this? Oh, let me see. Let me go back to Psalm 115. Oh yeah, it says the same thing, because our people are hard-headed. Sometimes Yahweh had to put it in the book twice, or even more times in some examples, because our people are hard-headed. How many times do we got to read that these false idols, they're vanity, they're useless? Okay, Psalm 135, it felt like I was reading the same psalm, but it's a totally different psalm, but they're saying the same things. Unless this phone is tripping, because it literally, let me see, I'm gonna look it up on my computer, because sometimes this phone be tripping. Let's see, Psalm 115 and 5. Okay, yep, it says that. And I'm going to go back to Psalm 135 and 15. Okay, yeah, so Yahweh is just repeating himself. Because again, our people are stubborn. Sometimes you have to read things twice, and our people still don't get it. They're still going to go, they're going to watch this lesson. A lot of you Israelites are going to watch this lesson and turn around and you still be worshiping Cracker Jesus. That's how stubborn and wicked our people are, you see. So anyway, it says literally the same thing we just read in Psalm 115. How about that? Okay. So I'm going to actually go to a different precept. Let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. 27 and 15. It says, "Cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto Yahweh, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and put it in a secret place, and all the people shall answer and say, Amen. Cursed be he that setteth light by his father or his mother, and the people shall say, Amen." Right. Meaning you're not supposed to worship graven images. You know, you look at the Catholic religion, which our people, that's a heavy demon on our people. You know, you got Catholics who have fucking images, statues of fucking, you know, with a white Mary, right? Mary was also a so-called black woman. Yahweh mother Mary was not a so-called white woman. But yet our people have those statues of that white lady, so-called white lady, which is an Edomite, in their fucking front yards, in their backyards. Sitting there, you know, trying to think that it's a holy thing for them to have those graven images set up in their yards. But it's an abomination. You got an abomination sitting in your front yard, man. And I know you've seen it. Especially you drive through the hood, you're gonna see that. You're gonna see that in abundance. Heathen idols, idolatry, in their front yard, you know, and they wonder why the Lord Yahweh has allowed these ICE agents to come and just torment them in this time. You see. But that's a whole nother lesson, a whole nother subject. But you get the point. Okay? So I'm going to go to Wisdom of Solomon. Let me see here. Because this is going in on the idolatry. Okay? Wisdom of Solomon 14. Let's see, we can start at 12. Okay, here we go. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. Okay? So people, you know, you say that word fornication, and people always think it's about fucking before what they call marriage, right? When they don't understand that having sex is marriage. But any of our people, they hear that word fornication, they think that's what it is. But really, fornication, spiritual fornication, is these idols that you set up. Okay? It says, for neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. Talking about these images, these graven images, these statues, or these false images like Cracker Jesus. Cracker Jesus was never there in the beginning. He was not. You know, he wasn't the first spirit created. Cracker Jesus, right? Yahweh Shai was the first spirit created. Okay? And again, that's another lesson also. But verse 14, for by the vain glory of men they entered into the world. So that's how Cracker Jesus was created. That's how all these statues that you see in the Catholic religion or in any of these false religions, you know, this is all entered into the world by men. Okay? They never had any type of spirit, any type of soul in them. They're just fucking statues, all right? And our people are so dumbed down and so delusional. They'll literally sit down, get on their knees, and pray to a fucking image, a graven image. How stupid is that? Okay, just keep reading. For a father afflicted with an untimely illness, this is going into Cesare, while it's going into also Serapis Christos. Let's see, I'll go ahead and read it. You know what? This is a lot here, so I'm not going to read that. But when you read this recount right here in Wisdom of Solomon 14, if you want to read it, you go ahead and read it on your own time. Okay, go edify yourself if you've never read Wisdom of Solomon 14. But it shows how becomes a custom. Our people worshiping these false images. Okay, but that gets a little deep, and that's not the point of this lesson. So I'm going to jump down to let me see. Well, I'll read this. I'll read 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law. Graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. Okay? And that's what our people are still doing to this day. They're worshiping graven images. Okay? And it was something ordained by the Edomites, really. They said, all right, here's a statue of an Edomite statue. Now go down and pray to it, you know. And that's an ungodly custom that grew on the earth. Okay. It says, whom men could not honor in presence, but they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far, and made an express image of a king whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent as if he were present. Okay? And again, this is going into something, a different lesson maybe I can do on another day. But basically it's just going into how our people worship false idols, you know, that these are gods of men, these are not the true powers or gods of the Bible, which is Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai are to be worshipped, not these false idols. Okay? But it's a counterfeit. Like even that image, or that if you have a statue or a necklace and it has white Jesus on it, guess what? That's counterfeit, man. Let's look that word up. Counterfeit. Counterfeit definition. When I typed that in, the second thing that popped up said counterfeit idols. So what's that tell you? Even Google knows. It says counterfeit refers to an imitation of a genuine item, commonly money, luxury goods, or documents made. So you get the point, all right? It's an imitation. Okay? It says these products are typically lower quality, which, yeah, you can't compare no cracker Jesus to Yahweh Shai. But yet, you fucking Israelites are putting cracker Jesus up on a pedestal. And then you wonder why your life is so cursed. Right? You wonder why when Yahweh B'Shem Yeshua visit the earth, why you're not going to receive salvation. Because you're over here worshiping something that's lower quality than what you're supposed to be worshiping. You know, and the elect, they're going to hear these messages. You're going to hear these epistles, right? These modern day epistles, which are the videos that we do. And you're going to repent if you're the elect. Our people are going to, they're going to like, you know what? That makes sense. The elect, it's going to click, you know? It's you 2/3 that are going to sit there and reject the knowledge. And you're going to sit there and you're not going to let go of cracker Jesus. You're going to go to the damn grave with that, literally, right? And until a nuclear missile, some of y'all are going to die before the missiles, but when the nuclear missile drops on your ass, you're going to wish you listened to your teachers, you know, as it is written. Proverbs 5 tells you that. So let's go to, okay, let's see here. Yep, here we go. I'm going to keep reading here. It says verse, let's see, 17. Or no, verse 18. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help set forward the ignorant to more superstition, right? And remember, the artificer, he's the one who creates these false idols, these false graven images that you people worship. Even if you say, oh, well, I don't have no statues, I don't worship that, but you're a Catholic. Okay, well, Catholics worship cracker Jesus. Catholics worship, when every Catholic church I ever went into, they got the big ass fucking cross with cracker Jesus on it, and it's like sometimes it's solid gold or whatever, or brass or whatever. So you can't say, oh, well, it's not me. No, if you go into a pagan Christian church or you go into a Catholic church, you're going to find that stuff, you see. So don't sit here and act like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, because it does apply to you. That's why I tell people, if they ask, I'm like, you better off not even going to a church, okay? You better off just being an atheist than sitting here praising a false idol, you know? Which either way, that you're gonna have the same. All the wicked are gonna be put to death, you know, destroyed. But I could tell you, it's more wicked to sit here and worship false idols, right? That's pretty much, that's basically the first commandment you violating, you see? So let's read in 19. It says, for he, peradventure, and that word peradventure means perhaps. So for he, peradventure, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. All right? So these artificers, these sculptures, these people who create these things, that they use all their skill. They put their whole, like, you know, when someone does a piece of art, or like even a sculpture, you know, they put all their energy, and they put all their effort into making that in this case a graven image. You know, they try to make it perfect. They make it look just like a man, right? And the majority of the ones, because you're in Babylon, the majority of these graven images, they're going to be likened in the image of a so-called white man, which is the Edomite, right? And that's what our people, they'll go buy these fucking statues at these Catholic stores. You go in these Catholic stores, you're going to just, if you're in the right spirit, you're going to get vexed. You know, I remember I used to do a DoorDash, and I would, there was this lady who would order food, right? And I go take it to her, and she had a little, like Bible store, right? And she was Issachar. And you walk in that bitch and you see like all the shelves just, you know, all they had on the shelves were these graven images of Cracker Jesus. I used to get vexed going in there, you know. But it was just like, damn. Or you even go to these little meat markets, these carnicerias, you know, you go in where the Mexicans sell the meat and stuff. they'll sell those graven images in those stores. You know what I'm saying? This is a heavy demon on the Northern Kingdom, and also, you know, Southern Kingdom as well. But my experience, I see it heavy. I see this heavy demon on the Northern Kingdom Israelites. Verse 20, and so the multitude, allured by the grace of the work, took him now for a god, which a little before was but honored. And this was an occasion to deceive the world. You see that? So why do our people worship graven images? Why do our people have abominations in their front yards, in their backyards, in their inside their homes? Because they're deceived. They've been deceived. All right? And this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name. Moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of the Most High, but whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, those great plagues called they peace. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites. Let me see, man. So you get the point, man. Our people just going off in idolatry, and it's been happening for the longest. They kept neither their lives nor marriages any longer undefiled, but either one slew another treacherously, or grieved him by adultery. Yeah, and that's why all this wickedness happens in the world, because our people they're not worshiping the true God, Yahweh. They're not acknowledging and worshiping Yahweh Shai. They're putting all their energy, all their worship into vanity. You know, they're putting their prayers and their worship, and they're glorifying graven images that can't hear These statues, they can't hear, they can't speak, they can't walk, they can't taste, they can't do nothing. If they fall on their face, and somebody has to pick them up, like we read in 1 Samuel 5 about Dagon, right? So it says, so that there reign in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, and that's what the outcome of idolatry is. All sorts of wickedness, you know. And Yahweh Bashem Yashai allows you people that are in the wrong spirit. He allows you to get fucked up. He allows your wife to cheat on you. He allows, because why? That's what Cracker Jesus does. He loves everybody. Cracker Jesus, he'll put his arm around a fucking adulterous woman, you know? He's okay with all that. He's okay with a transgender. He's okay with the homosexual. He's okay, like those pagan Christian churches, they tell you, everybody's welcome, you know? So all this other, it just adds iniquity, sin on top of sin on top of sin. It's like it breeds iniquity. Okay, you have to have standards at some point, right? That's why the Lord has chosen his holy people, which the word holy means set apart, because, you know, the holy people are going to be set apart. And what makes them holy is because they're not going to be committing idolatry. They're not going to be committing adultery. You know, they're not going to be doing wicked shit that, you know, Babylon America allows you to have freedom of religion. So you're dipping in all kinds of wickedness because this place allows it. Verse 27, it says, for the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. All right? For either they are mad when they be merry, or prophesy lies, or live unjustly, or else lightly forswear themselves. For in so much as their trust is in idols which have no life, though they swear falsely, yet they look not to be hurt. See? Howbeit, for causes shall they be justly punished. Yeah, when Yahweh Shem Yoshai visits the earth, if you're caught up in idolatry, if you got a fucking abomination in your front yard, you're going to be destroyed. Remember, he's coming back to make war. Not just with the heathen, but you 2/3. Verse 30. Howbeit, for both causes shall they be justly punished. Both because they thought not well of the Most High, giving heed unto idols, and also unjustly swore in deceit, despising holiness. Right, holiness. I was just speaking on that. Holiness. You're not setting yourself apart. You got to be, if you're in the Holy Spirit, your spirit is set apart from all this wickedness that the world participates in. And you look around, and the majority of the world is participating in nothing but wickedness. Even the ones who think that they're doing right, like going to church and they going to serve the Cracker Jesus, or they're going to church, they're setting up a fucking abomination in their front yard, in their houses, in their homes, you know, putting up all these fucking images of different false idols, committing idolatry day and night, and thinking that they're righteous, you know. Verse 31, for it is not the power of them by whom they swear, but it is just vengeance of sinners that punish always the offense of the ungodly. Okay? So, you know, the Lord has set up his men to tell you to repent from all this type of stuff, all this idolatry, you know. The biggest heathen god in Babylon, America, that our people are deceived by, that our people worship, you know, you got to say that Jesus Christ takes the cake. He's that false idol that has been set up to, you know, he's attempting to, you know, and he's not even real. But you Israelites allow the heathen to lead you and cause you to err. You know, but if you had to take a poll in Babylon, America, I'm pretty sure these people who think they're religious, these people who think they're righteous, they're all up on JC's nutsack, So, hey, man, this is not for everybody. Like we always tell you, only the elect are gonna be able to see through the lies. Only the elect are the ones who won't be deceived. Okay, Matthew 24. So, with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah, Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Allah Akyam, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.